episode 26 of Tall Boy Radio, and this is actually the first one that we've recorded with all three of us sat around the table, which is quite nice to have us all in the same room, isn't it?
It is.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers fellas. Cheers, boys.
That's a good one. So this episode we're going to be talking about beer. Next episode we're going to be talking about beer. We're going to film both of them tonight because you're off to
Menorca
and you're off to
Cornwall.
There you go, fair play. So we wanted to get a few in the can so that you guys aren't missing out on all the good stuff. So my original concept, when I first had an idea of having a podcast and getting people, well, more specifically getting you guys involved, was we each bring a couple of beers, sit around a table and talk about them, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. So we each brought a couple of beers. Andy, you brought this one. I have got a podcast voice because I don't talk like this in real life, do I?
Podcast and beer voice.
We'll see how that voice keeps going later on.
Yeah, it won't last. It won't last. Go on, dude. You brought this one. Tell us a little bit about it.
Cool. So this is a Pirate triple hop. So yeah, normally I'd just drink the Pirate, but I had the sweet pleasure of randomly seeing this one. It's a bit more expensive because you throw more hops in it. I think the brewery said they're inspired by the American IPAs, so they've got a mixture of hops depending how well the availability of the hops is what they choose to put in it. So every year you'll get a slightly different one, but it's just brilliant. It's 10.5% Belgian beer. Knocks your socks off.
What can go wrong?
The brewery do a few decent ones as well, like the Golden Drac. That's probably one of the main ones. But yeah, this stuff is hits me every time.
I'm not surprised 10.5%. That's the opening gambit.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, it is a good one. Has nobody brought the Duchess then?
No.
I refuse to spend my hard-earned money paying for that. If somebody was to bring a bottle and say drink it, then I'd perhaps have one drink and then say no thanks. But
me and my daughter, we went when we were out to buy the beers that I got. I asked the guy, have you got any Duchess de Bourgogne, however it's pronounced, and he said no, we've literally got no Belgian beers in stock. I can get it for Friday of this week. I said, oh, no, sorry dude, a little bit too late. So yeah, I got my beers from Sandwich Beer Emporium. We'll talk about a few beer shops and that afterwards as well, won't we? But yeah, the guy actually there was pretty good, knocked me 50p a can off those three and 70p a can off because I was buying a load. I did pick up one, I don't know if you've ever seen it, I can't remember its name now, it's called something like Hengard. You ever seen it? Big bottle, like Gaz has brought, nice one dude. Like those, but with hen feathers stuck to it. And it was about 15 or 16% and 34 quid a bottle. I was like, do you know, I like you guys.
Like,
yeah,
I don't like that much. It's like rum or anything like that.
It'd been soaked in bourbon barrels.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was bourbon. I think it was like a dark beer, like a stout or a porter.
just while on the Duchess, I don't know whether I mentioned it in one of the previous podcasts. One of my next door neighbours lives sort of 2 or 3 houses down. Her husband, a guy called Chris, they actually do craft beer plates, and he said he would be more than happy to come on the future episode and stuff. But she
brings a bit.
Yeah, bring cider.
Yeah, bring some apples. Yeah, no, don't let me on them apples. I got into trouble after drinking them. But we were talking about the Duchess, and I was retelling the story about when we were down in London, and she's like, "You mean you don't like that?" And I'm like, "No, I really don't." She's like, "Oh, I can drink that." And I looked at her, I was like, "Really? Like you actually will pay for that and drink it 3 places?" She's like, "Yeah, I really like sour, really sour beers and stuff." And I was like, "Nah, not for me, not for me." And to be fair, Chris is a bit like, "No, he doesn't either." But both of those two, you got Chris and you got Pete. They get it from a guy in, I think it's in Nantwich, and he drives over. And I think Chris and his relationship go back a number of years, so he's quite happy to come over to Barrington Park. And they basically go halves on a beer order, and they 1 week or one every fortnight, whatever, Pete will pick it, and then you just see him sort of trudging across like big barrels of stuff to Chris, and then vice versa sort of thing. So they get theirs delivered in. And when I was chatting to him about the one that we were doing tonight, I said, oh, we want to get you on, we want to try and get a few people on. He was like, yeah, Sam, more than happy to come on and talk about it. So yeah, that's pretty good.
And in the playground as well.
2-3 distance.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But
he,
I think they're due to go to, I think he said Berlin later this year.
Nice.
And they know like those places sort of in and around various cities and stuff.
Didn't you go to Berlin last year? Was it Berlin?
yeah, wasn't impressed.
Do you not like it?
No, I was ill at the time, a really bad cold, and it was like -3 or something. And we just struggled finding bars, because it's all been built up, it's all modernised. There's not. I like the old-fashioned bars, and there's a few there, but you had to track out to them.
Right.
So I was still.
Yeah. But yeah, he said he'd come on and talk about various beers and stuff, sort of stories, because they do all beer festivals, sort of local to Birmingham, Manchester and stuff. So yeah, that was good.
That's another thing I think we need to do a podcast from, is get ourselves to one of those. But obviously this year's looking unlikely.
Yeah.
But do one from there. You know, take the old mic out.
Yeah. It'd be interesting just to see. And I was sort of listening back to last week's when we were sort of talking to David, and it'd be great if we can do a series of sort of outdoor broadcasts and we can pick a topic, and like, so we go to either a beer place or we join up with David and we do something to do with darts at a venue, and we can do a double trouble gin in conjunction with Tallboy Radio type mashup.
That'd be good.
And that'd be cool.
Just to chuck you in there, that I know we recorded that one last week, but there's going to be another one in between. So for the folks listening at home, this was the week before. But David's been back in contact with us, hasn't he? And he's, I've been on the dartboard. If he's challenging us to a game, and he did mention non-darts player. I'm not sure whether he referred to you or me there, dude.
I can't miss anything.
Well,
I've
been practicing. I thought I've got my double trouble flights on. I've got my Way model darts out. I thought, I best get used to throwing these. But he also said that when they release their rum, they're going to send someone over here and we can try it. He's going to come back on.
Nice.
And we can try the rum live on the podcast. First taste, first sip of it. No preconceptions.
Brilliant.
And that'll be quite good, won't it?
Yeah.
If you like rum, that'd be really good.
Yeah. Rum and Vimto. How's that? Right?
No, that was good.
That'd be
yeah,
good.
no, that does sound good. Yeah.
Just one more thing. Bill, our good friend Bill Bethwaite, how are you doing? Thank you very much. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for sharing the good work, because it was him who put us in touch with the mayor. Got us 20 free pints of beer. You can't really fault that. But unfortunately, guys, he's come good. The death nuts have been delivered. I was hoping it was all going to be taught, but it's not. There we go. We're not going to do these tonight.
No. Oh, I'm not doing it at all, I don't think so.
No,
I'll be timekeeper.
You're a pass for some reason. Yeah, so me and Andy are going to be having a go at these at some time in the near future, but we'll get a bill for that. But they look deadly. That's what we're dealing with. Carolina Reaper pods. It says warning, not to be handled without gloves.
I'm looking forward to it.
Really? Have you watched the videos of people trying?
Yeah. I know, I'm going to struggle, but
I'm going to struggle.
There'll be a crying warning.
I don't think it will just clear your nose, dude. I think it will clear the entire system.
It's got to get through alcohol first.
But they look deadly. They look deadly.
You assure all risk when using this product.
I got a little story about some chili. Went to my mate's nephew's birthday pie, and one of his mates bought some chili sauce. It's not like sold over here. You have to buy it from America, so it's hard. I can't remember the Scoville rating. And
was it 13 million hot?
I don't know. It was hot though.
Yeah.
And me and my mate making drinks. I was like, I just put like a drop of chili in, and it just added like a little kick to it. A little tiny drop was fine. Me being a little bit drunk, I just pour loads in mine. And I was drinking it. I thought, this is like this. I believe wiped my eye like that. Oh my god! I was crying. I had to go outside, just like dribbling, snot, tears.
There's two places you don't touch when you've been out in the chili. One of them is your eye. The other one, well,
not the other eye.
Yeah, the other eye. Yeah, exactly. And he's also Bill's kindly included these. Now they come in 3 different heat levels. mild, medium and wild. Have a guess which one Bill's included for us.
Probably wild.
Yeah, correct. So maybe we'll try those a little bit later. Some Carolina Reaper peanuts towards the end of the second podcast that we'll do tonight. And have some Wicked Blue to wash it down for you guys.
I think you have to try them. I mean,
I think so.
I'll say it. Angles.
Yeah, it's
not really Scotch bonnet.
You might be away in Allsage, I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We did the. I wasn't daft enough to do that actually, which is a rare.
Too.
Yeah.
Carolina Reaper.
Yeah, we made it. It was the boys' turn to cook, wasn't it? So we kicked it up a notch with some fiery chili that was virtually inedible. It tasted good, but it was quite hot.
Look forward to seeing you boys eat them.
No, you can try some. You can try some.
Just a massive handful of them, just like yeah. Alcohol's not probably the best thing to drink with it either, is it?
No.
Get some milk on the go.
Well, there is milk there if we need it. We'll get some milk out, but I think Wicked Blue, or for us, dude, Wicked Pink, you know. But I thought, you know, Gaz can have the manly Wicked Blue and we'll have the Wicked Pink. Don't want to be missing out.
Okay, cheers, Bill.
Yeah, cheers for that, Bill. But no, I think when we do that, we will definitely do that. Gaz, for some unknown reason, he's quite happy for you to be the timer on that.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Yeah,
I don't mind that.
So me and Andy will do that. Actually, to be fair, he also included the t-shirt as well. I'm not worn it because it says I've done the chili challenge. I haven't done it. I have got I rode the bull at Gillies. I rode the mechanical bull. I do wear that from time to time. So yeah, we'll get Bill involved. We'll get Bill down. He probably won't appear on camera because I know he won't want to.
Yeah, no, he won't. Yeah.
But he can come and witness our pain and know that he put us through it.
He probably were laughing in the back.
Yeah, let him. And actually, to be fair, we've had him laughing off camera before because one thing we didn't tell when we did the film episode was that Bill was the cameraman and also the director of that TV extravaganza.
Yeah, he didn't start though, did he?
Mm.
He wouldn't actually.
He had more sense than that. To be fair.
He knew. Foresight.
Yeah. He could be dredged up to haunt him in the future. Oh yeah. But no, just going back then to the last two episodes that we recorded. Obviously, we put the Double Trouble one out there, and that's actually done really, really well. Performed really well in terms of listening figures. I've been delighted with that. Plenty of people watching on YouTube. Loads of people listening to the podcast in its audio format, which is great. Really, really pleased to see that. But I thought that was a really good episode. Really enjoyed, and it's the first one we've done with a guest on somebody that we don't know. We've not ever spoken to before in our lives, have we?
No. And it's strange because you do get that. I hope they sort of get us because obviously, you two just know each other a bit slightly better than me and Andy, and obviously we've been mates for years and stuff. But we seem to sort of bounce off each other reasonably well, and it's like when you throw somebody else in there, it's like, are they going to get our little pauses, our little sort of quips? And actually, I listened to it back. And it does work really, really well. He seemed to just fit in. He's obviously used to doing podcasts with various other.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. This is only the second one he'd ever done. He'd done one the day before, and ours was the second.
Really? Because he didn't come across it. He came across it though.
We did.
Yeah. We were the amateurs. Absolutely. But I mean, obviously, it was a product that he, he's passionate about. It's his business and all, but he sort of knew when to talk about the product. He knew when to just make a gag. Do you know? And listening to it back, and what I thought, which was great, because he's obviously subsequently shared it on all the social media and everything else. And I wondered whether or not, obviously, the guys that he mentioned in the podcast have been in America, like asking for all his products and stuff, whether or not they've sort of latched on and thought, I'll give him a listen, and maybe, hopefully, Tallboy can sort of get a few more listeners that way. And I don't know the breakdown, but it's great what he's done, it's great what he continues to do, so long may that continue. But yeah, just to share all the Tallboy Radio stuff via his social media platforms was brilliant. And I have noticed, particularly on Twitter, there's a couple of other sort of podcast groups that have picked up and saying quite happy to support other podcasters and nice. Retweet, so that's good, isn't it?
Nice. Yeah. And a few other gin fanatics as well. We picked up a few on Instagram, liking, commenting and messaging, same on Twitter, which is pretty good. I know he's had messages as well. I've seen him replying to loads of stuff that we're tagged into. So I'm really pleased that it's worked out for them. really pleased that it went well as well, and that he wants to work with us again in the future.
Yeah.
You know, so what we need to do though is get some pictures on board, like literally get him on an hour and just bombard him. Like, this is what we think.
I mean, you put me on the spot. You know, you sort of led me in, and you were like, "Have you had any picture ideas?" Like, no, not really. No.
I was hoping you just chuck it like, "What have you?" Funnily enough.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously on the back of what we spoke about, you know, there's. You never know, dear. You never know until we'll wait and see. But no, that was great, and I think it just showed that actually getting somebody else on worked, and you know that interaction, we didn't sort of lose that interaction, and it seemed to go pretty well. So
well, we got a few other people lined up. We got Mark Weaver, he's agreed to come on. You know, Weaver did the Guinness World Record with us, talk about his Cheshire for Life campaign. He's going to drop his propaganda on us.
Yeah. Obviously Ken, you know, Ken's been on.
Ken,
you know,
Ken, every episode that we do on the paranormal and a few others beside, we're going to get Ken involved. See Ken will be on a few. We've got a guy coming to talk about he brewed from his home, sold his beer into pubs. So
obviously got a guy from here, so because he
still got Chris from the Mission. Try a little bit of his food. Yeah, this will be exciting. Yeah. They're not doing food at the minute yet. They've not ventured back into that yet, so that should be interesting.
They're waiting for the chili order to come through.
We'll bring the food. You supply the beer.
Absolutely. So no, it'd be good. I think, and you know, we sort of band around a few ideas and stuff, and we've got to a point where we're quite happy doing podcasts from various locations. Now we've got this one. We talk about some outside broadcasts, some guests, you know.
I think this idea's got a real legs. Yeah, I love doing the Beans Dust stuff, but this is the highlight of my week. I love doing this with you guys. Yeah. And I love that people listen to it, engage with it. We've got Tinny and Shiner as well, I should say. I know they're very, very keen to go on. So I promise them next guest we have on, when you guys are back on holiday, it's going to take some doing logistically because they're in Oklahoma, so there's an 8-hour time difference. So we could be recording that one at 6 in the morning or something. So fine. Should be interesting.
We'll sort something.
We'll get something.
We'll fire out.
Well, funny enough,
on their expenses.
Yeah, well, probably. Yeah, I'm not sure. Outcast Media Group will run to that. Well, funny enough, I am looking at going out to Oklahoma next year. I've got a trip planned out there to hang out with Tinny Shiner in Tulsa for a few days, and head down to Texas, San Antonio, see my cousin Bo. So that's my highlight for next year. So we'll definitely have some stories, hopefully, to tell from that.
Well, what would be cool was we do a Tall Boy Radio podcast, and you've got me and Andy in the UK, and you've got actually Adam with Tinny Shiner in America.
I think we have to make that happen, don't we?
And that would be quite a nice little twist, wouldn't it? That
definitely.
You're over there with them guys and we're here, and it's So that sounds like a plan.
I like the idea of that, dude. Let's crack open the next beer.
Right, that's one for you then.
Right.
That's one for you. And that's me.
Has anybody tried this one before?
I haven't, no.
I've not tried this one before. This is one that I literally asked the guy in the shop, told him what I like IPAs, like double IPAs, and he said these are your best ones. Probably best one to get it started.
It's a nice smell to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's got a nice fruity, hoppy smell.
I did try what was the place in Osage? It was before Craftworks.
Yeah.
That was good.
And they
I remember you having a night on the Colonel in there. You lost your umbrella.
Well, they did one, and it was a very I think it was American, and it was really fruity. Like I sort of had a couple of pints, and Jenny, who's my wife, she was like, she said literally she could taste like the fruit in it, and it was good. I loved it, and she's like, "Are you going to drink that?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" And then went back for like a second pint. So how strong is it? Yeah, it was about like 6% or something. So like, well, you're not having any more of that.
Well, that's the thing. I love an IPA, but I love an American style IPA, which is what this is. So it's a British one. It's made in Knaresborough in Yorkshire. It's called Turning Point Rare Can. I just held the can up to the camera. So if you're listening to the audio podcast, please join us on YouTube as well. A lot of people have messaged me since we started doing the videos and saying actually they've switched to watching it on YouTube because it's great to watch our reactions when we're talking about it as well.
Yeah, and it's nice, isn't it? You know, you can listen to various podcasts, but it's sort of nice to put a face to the voice as such. And And I say particularly because we're just three idiots that talk about nothing, but to actually just see the reaction sometimes of someone tell a gag or just the way we sort of respond around each other is pretty cool. So, but yeah, it's just another media outlet, isn't it? It's just another way of getting Tallboy Radio out there.
Absolutely,
to the masses.
And the more people listen, the better as well. Because I don't know, where you guys see this going. I had a plan when we did it as Beans Does Stuff. I always saw it as hopefully being something that I could do something good with. Hopefully raise some money for charity. When COVID-19 kicked in and the pandemic happened, I ended up doing a lot of home-based episodes that I didn't intend to do. So I ended up doing a lot of recipes. And actually, before you guys joined, I was actually looking at creating a cookbook with some of those recipes and doing a charity cookbook which we could then raise some money. And I'd like to get to a point where this is popular and people buy into it and listen to it. We're not there yet, but you know what, we're doing really well. We're doing above average for listening figures, so the internet tells me. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And then I'd like to get so we sell some merch. So we've got the TBR glasses, which we're all drinking out of. We've got the Tallboy Radio t-shirts, which I think have come out really nicely. I'd like to be able to sell some of this stuff to people who listen eventually, not now, I'm not trying to put to get people to buy now, and then we can hopefully do something for charity. My mum runs All Saints Cancer Support, she's a trustee of that charity, and I really like to generate some funds for that. We've done it, obviously, the things that we've done. I raised some money last year to have the store refurbished. Me and a couple of guys also went and did a day's work there, helping take a wall down. I told all the lads at work, I said to Fraser, come on, we're going to go smash something up. He's like, yeah, let's get involved.
I feel a darts world record coming up.
Well, you say
that,
but it's funny because
sort of by the end of the night we'll be getting the darts out.
The first sort of world record that we did, obviously, me and my brother, we sort of raised money for cancer research, which was, quite close to us. Don't know if I've said it before, so I lost my mum to cancer, so she was 49, died sort of 3 days before her 50th birthday. So that's something that's quite close to me. So anything that we can do, raising money for the people and obviously it was great. The second world record, sounds weird still saying that, like the second world record we did, but the second world record obviously was for Great Ormond Street, and again, slightly sort of personal sort of story in terms of both of my kids, sort of when they have spent time in various sort of children's hospitals, and thankfully they're all okay now, full bill of health and all that. So so anything that's got that sort of that personal side, I'm in 100%. 100%.
That's what I'd like to do anyway, Albie, because I just think if we can do. I'm not interested in making any money out of this. Most people don't make money out of podcasts so far. It's cost me a fair bit. The wife keeps on me. Her hobbies brings in plenty of money. The knitting that she does. We're talking about this perhaps on here, but we were selling knitting patterns online last year. Before we had JJ, God bless him. When she had the time to do that kind of stuff, and she made a nice little side earner out of it. This so far has cost us a fortune. about 400 quid in mic so far this year. The glasses and everything being made, although to be fair, she printed on it for us. We bought the machine for it to print on it.
But it's one of those, it's sort of, and I say, speculate to accumulate, and from small acorns to great oaks grow, or whatever the famous sort of states. And not that you do it because you necessarily want to make money, or you just do it because you've got a bit of a hobby, a bit of a passion, you've got stuff you want to talk about. Feel as though there might be some people out there that want to listen to three blokes just.
People do. The people that get in contact and say how much they enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great to hear.
And what was cool listening to obviously the Double Trouble episode was, they're very much part of their philosophy is the giving back and all of that, and that really, when you listen to it back, that really just strikes home in terms of that's a real core element of their business is the wanting to, and obviously the work that they're doing within the disability darts and trying to grow sort of women's darts in particular is brilliant, And if something comes of that, then great. If it doesn't,
I hope so. They
yeah.
seem keen to work with us again.
Yeah.
I hope next time they have something planned that we can be involved with.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hopefully it goes on for less than 24 hours.
I'd do 24 hours or more.
We could do the commentary, to sit behind a little booth.
American
style commentary.
Yeah, that would be good.
Oh, he's throwing a blinder. It's on the floor.
And Gary's asleep again. Actually, no, to be fair, you didn't sleep last time, did you?
No?
I did.
You did?
I had a 20-minute nap. Would have been long, but some idiot woke me up with an air hole.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, I didn't. No, I didn't sleep.
Sleeping's cheating.
Yeah. But when we did the first one, you had to sleep because, 40 odd hours in.
Well, actually, no, they say the first one because there was one before.
Well, there was one before that, yeah.
That was the one we don't talk about because we didn't get a Guinness World Record out of it.
No.
Because one thing or another.
So is that the one that was 9 years ago? Or the...
Yeah.
It was. Well, I remember.
Well, no, only because I saw Facebook memories. It might have been like today or yesterday. I saw
it was July. It was the day after my sister-in-law's 30th birthday. I've been up till like 1:30 in the morning drinking and turning up to do that. It was not ideal. Playing darts for 35 hours.
Well, the one after the one we don't talk about. So the actual first time we got into Guinness World Records. I'd been to work.
Yeah, so it's it, hasn't it?
So I'd been up at the alarm goes on 6:15. So I'd been up, been up from 6:15 on the Friday morning, been to work. Then obviously we started the world record and went through Friday night, all day Saturday night, all day Sunday. So I've been up for like way over 48 hours, because literally I've been up from the Friday.
Wasn't it?
It's ridiculous.
I always remember you guys doing it because I remember saying to him, let's go and watch you guys, and we did pop in on the one on Saturday, I think it was.
Yeah, you mentioned to Kim, didn't you? You said,
she's
when
like,
are you going down? I wasn't going to bother. No, thanks.
But it's like, you guys started on Friday night. I was like, Friday night? Like, what about, are you sleeping all day? Oh no, I'm going to work.
Yeah.
Well, that's hard.
And when you were so what was your world record? Yeah, it was like, was it 48 hours and...
We played, because what happened with Kimbo, one of the scorers didn't he unfortunately had some form of fit.
He fitted.
So we had to take a break and we took slightly longer than we should have, so we had a little bit knocked off our record. We actually played for over 50 hours, didn't we?
Well, I think that was obviously for those who don't know the story, sort of Stuart, who was one of our scorers, because he quite, out of the sort of goodness of his heart, he said he would try to support us as much as he could. And he'd been on some medication. He basically missed a bit of medication, hadn't he? That was the problem. He wanted to stay with us to try and support us.
A couple of guys did it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Johnny Ives.
Johnny Ives. He stayed with it. I mean, Hillside. Yeah. I mean,
Hillside.
Big Grey attempted to, but sort of dipped out a little bit.
Big Grey went out on the beer.
I'll
be with you lads. He was away. He just wasn't with us.
But then Stuart obviously fitted, and we worked out that we'd got about 40 or 50 minutes banked in terms of time that we could take off. And one of the stipulations that Guinness made was that you can't finish the record on a break, so you would have to go back and play at least one more leg of darts. Ironically, that turned out to be the 501st.
It was,
which is weird.
Yeah, 501 games.
So we played 501 games of 501. I mean, how spooky is that?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
That's a whole different podcast, but so that was weird. That was like the 501st leg, and we finished, and we thought we'd got 50 hours. We thought we played for 50 hours, and obviously
50 hours and 1 minute.
Yeah, something like that. And then obviously we then submitted all the literature to Guinness, and they didn't take any time off us in terms of what happened with Stuart per se, but it came back that actually whoever it was, probably us lunatics, we'd stuffed up our timings, and actually we felt as though we had like 40 minutes, and actually we probably only had like 20 minutes or whatever, so they didn't credit us with
it was a difference of something like 10 seconds.
And
but
what happened was that if we had like 1 minute and 1 second break, that was 2 minutes. So basically, if you went 1 second over on their timings, that ran into the following minute. So where we were like, oh, we've had a minute, right, go. If you're 1 second late in throwing that dart after you come back from a break, that is classed as having another minute and stuff. So, over a 48-hour period, that sort of adds up.
It's difficult to keep track of when you've lost 2 nights of sleep.
Oh,
3
yeah.
nights of sleep, actually.
And I think what happened was that we'd played, unfortunately, they actually took off a chunk of time, but still meant that we actually broke the world record. So if I think if they'd taken the chunk off and it ended up being less than the record, we'd have been a bit gutted, wouldn't we? But,
we beat the record. The previous record, I think, was 48 hours. So the previous guys had played for 2 days. We had it on an hour and nearly 2 hours. But
if you guys had started early on a Friday, that could have been an extra day or an extra 8, 9.
Because after we did it, I was like, never again. And I was like, yeah, you say that now, but we'll do something. No, we won't. And then obviously the idea from Double Trouble and Dave came in terms of hitting the doubles and doing something else, and we were like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And even through that record, I was like, we're going to do this again, Andy, you do know that. We're all going to do it again. And he's like, no, it's horrible. And oh, go on, we might.
that first one was horrible. But when it came to the second one, I thought, A, it's just 24 hours, and B, I've got kids now, so staying away. I do it anyway because they keep you up. But because they keep you up, I hadn't had a decent night's sleep before. It's just horrible.
You got to think about sleep after. Well, I suppose you've got kids, you won't have to sleep. But
literally, you speak to Jenny, you speak to Kim, and they'll tell you stories. I fell asleep mid-conversation. We'd ordered a pizza, it hadn't arrived. I literally telling Kim, yeah, looking forward to this pizza. And that's it, I fell asleep on the couch. I don't remember anything. You fell asleep, took your shoes off.
Well, the first time I fell asleep, so we stayed, we broke the world record, and my dad, Big Ray, affectionately known as Big Ray, there's a theme to Big Ray, it's always beer. And he said, oh, you've got to have a beer now, your world record, you've got to have a beer. So, okay, not many. And I don't know what time, was it about sort of 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening or something? So I had a pint of San Miguel, and then my old man was like, oh, you got to have another one. I was like, oh, I'm a bit knackered, but okay, so I had 2 pints of San Miguel. And then I got in the car, and I don't remember any conversation that I had with Jenny or the kids. And Jenny said,
that's normal, isn't
it? To be fair, picking me up from Radway normally, is that? So by the time I'd got in the car and closed the door, to the time they'd got in the car, closed the door, and driven off Radway, said he was asleep. And that's like 15 seconds. So literally, he closed the door, so I went, and just fell asleep. So don't remember obviously driving. It was only 2 minutes away, 3 minutes away in the car. So got to drive. Jenny's like, oh, we're home. I was like, hey, are we? Oh, okay. Walked through the front door. Sat on the stairs, bent down to take my trainers off and fell asleep. So literally, Jenny's got a photo of me like this. Just literally slumped with my hands on my laces, asleep. Just literally spot.
It was horrible though. It was horrible, wasn't it?
It's just horrible. Like I went through a really dark, bad period. So the second night, the first night was fine. Your adrenaline kicks in, everything's. Yeah. You've had a few people come in, a few family members come in and sort of support you. And again, we were dead lucky. Radway were brilliant, and the supports that we had and stuff.
That's another thing we need to do. We need to do something, put some money back into Radway.
Yeah, and they were brilliant. And there's a couple of guys that weren't involved in the doubles world record, but were there for the first one. And we sort of. We wanted to give back to them, a little bit. And the second night, I found really difficult, like incredibly difficult. And at one point, I genuinely was going to stop. I was like, I can't do this. And then I don't know whether it's Ad or a couple of other Sid or whatever. Like, no, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. You've got to keep going. And it literally was like a physical trauma just to get up and go to the hockey and just throw 3 darts. And I know you were trying to throw, and we joked on a previous podcast about it affected your world record of just staying awake.
It was, wasn't it? Really?
But when you try and throw at the treble 20, and if it doesn't go there, you're like, oh, I don't really care, really.
Just hit the board.
Yeah. and as long as play was continuous, Guinness were fine with that. And then you sort of slump back down. And actually, the first one that we don't really mention, we actually had stools, and that they were better because actually they were effectively sort of standing high, almost. You could. It was actually less effort to get out of the seat. So when you sit down,
we looked like boys running every time we stood up.
It's like keychains
all at once.
And you'd sit down because you couldn't. I mean, my back, the sort of prolapse discs and stuff, and so hours and hours and hours on your feet, and you're like, oh, back's killing me. And you sit down, and then the thought of then literally having just to get up and walk 3 yards was just like. So you get up and you throw the darts. So that second night was Yeah, it was, and at various points, I think each of us went through phases of like just not wanting to do it. And then you get to the Sunday and you're like, okay, well we've got through 2 nights, and again it's sort of Stacey. I think was it Stacey that did the breakfast and stuff. So on the second morning,
yeah, Stacey was brilliant. Though.
So
Stacey had a kid like
it
was like 6
and
months
was
before.
it her birthday or her?
It was her birthday.
It was her birthday.
We did it over Valentine's Day. Didn't make but it was her birthday as well. She gave up.
She gave up her birthday. So she gave up Valentine's Day and she gave up her birthday, and she was phenomenal. So Stace, brilliant.
Yeah, fair play.
And that Sunday morning we had breakfast and stuff, and I can't remember who was it said. She went, it might be Stacey. She said, you know, if you're going to go to 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever, you've actually got like less than 12 hours or whatever. You know, she says you've got less than 12 hours to go. I mean, 12 hours, like, you know. But she said less than 12. You get to lunchtime, you know, you get to midday, and you've got like 6 hours left, 7 hours left, or whatever. And then of course people started coming in the afternoon, and it sort of built then, didn't it?
Yeah. But it messed with your mind, because there's one. But when we finished, and Weaver, we'll get on it, and I know that we'll rehash some of these stories. But after we've literally just finished, and Weaver said, and what really helped me was when we played outside for 20 minutes. Yeah, that never happened, dude. We didn't at no point did we take the dartboard outside. It's always been in here. And then he said, but when we started, the room was pointing in a different direction.
That was me.
Yeah,
I was convinced. That was me. I was convinced that we'd stuck the room.
But literally, we weren't like, actually, no, yeah, we have. Have we done that?
Because you know, we were throwing in the wall this like this, and then all of a sudden we split and like. And I was like, but did we not start throwing that way and then like change? Like, no, physically we couldn't. You were convinced the room was I was absolutely convinced you're pointing it. Did we not face that way when we started? Like, no, we just literally all the cameras are settled that way. But we the 20 minutes outside.
Yeah, we yeah, that never happened.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, you're not going to play outside. But yeah, that was a bit weird. So
after your record ended, you were outside throwing darts at cars.
Yeah, we'll put it past him. Yeah, we've got some stories to tell, and like Big Grey, they always involve beer as well. So we'll get into those with everyone. So just to give you a bit of information then about this beer, this is Turning Point Red Candy, 6.4%. The company's been going since 2017. If you buy this beer on their website, it costs you £4.50 a can. Paid slightly more than that for it. It is on tap. We mentioned this last time we talked about beer. It's got a 3.75 rating on there after 809 ratings, and it is a fruity, citrusy beer made with 6 or 7 different types of hops, one of which is Citra, which I like. It's also so is Mosaic. I don't really like Mosaic hops, but this is actually pretty good, isn't it?
That's in here, Citra.
Yeah, and like the triples and the IPAs, excuse me, tends to be in those ones.
It is nice, this one. It reminds me of another one, but I think this is a higher percentage. So.
Well, we said, didn't we? We talked about IPAs. I like an IPA to be over 5%. The session IPA is too watery, tastes watered down. I've really.
That's tasty.
Yeah, it's gone down quite
that
quickly.
Spot.
That's tasty.
Get ready for the left.
Yeah. Was that a hint? Was that it? Andy obviously can tell you a quick drink. There's Andy.
15 minutes, yeah.
there's mine, and Adam's is similar, so you know the.
You've not drank for 24 hours.
In preparation.
Yeah, that's it. Father Jack. Drink.
Yeah, drink. Just while I serve the leffy, however various people pronounce it. What are you? Are you a left person or a
I think it's left.
Left.
Yeah. I think you can pronounce it either way, though. To be fair, dude, it gets pronounced either way.
Just curious, the podcast that we did, and I know we've had. I think Chris McKeown did it. Have we had any more sort of Premiership 11s to rival ours as such? Or not?
You know, funnily enough, you say that. When we do a podcast, we talk about the different ones. Certain ones we think, oh, this is going to be really good. Yeah, this is a good beer. You know, people are going to love this one. They're going to find it really interesting. And those are normally the ones
They don't.
that they don't. Yeah. So actually, the the football one is the one that the least people have engaged with it. We've got
Really?
the least number of listeners and the least views. Hardly anybody's watched it on YouTube. More people, nearly 2 or 3 times as many people watched the 2-hour movie one.
I wonder why that.
The Kevin Spacey special.
It was a podcast basically about Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, and Kevin Spacey. They just happened to appear in all the films that I like.
But Kevin Spacey more notable.
Yeah, which is weird because you'd have thought that. I mean, maybe because we sort of turning towards perhaps the American market and they don't know the players that we were talking about per se, or the history of the
football's tough. I suppose films you give your own opinion, but football
Yeah,
I think people more.
Popular.
Is it?
Yeah, films are popular.
Football, people are more passionate about. I think, and they're probably just like that shit.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested. I should get in contact because a couple of weeks before that, there's another podcast I listened to called
beautiful, by the way.
Purposely Curious, and they did an episode called "Can Football Be Considered a Religion?"
You mentioned that to me, didn't you? Yeah.
Well worth listening. Yeah. It's an interesting one, and that again was a 90-minute episode. Well, it's slightly longer. It's a 100-minute episode. They're both LA Galaxy fans. Mary, who's the host, is a Man United fan, and it's got a guy on called Angel, who was a big Arsenal fan. So I was tuning into that one definitely. I'd be interested to know how that one performed for them, because that one actually for us was since the three of us have been involved, actually our worst.
Wow, because I enjoy talking about that. I loved it. I mean, your team was terrible because it's just Arsenal players, but and that's weird because obviously those people that sort of
that was the bits of feedback we had. That is pretty much it. Yeah.
I did think about we should probably squeeze in some Liverpool players, but Liverpool for me would probably 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if
current team's good.
I think if you did pre-Premiership, that you would go to late 80s, mid-late 80s.
You only count the Premiership.
Then all of a sudden, was there even football before the Premiership? Well, there was from my point of view. But obviously, I would put Neville Southall in. I would have arguably put a couple of midfielders in there and stuff.
Limpar, I think we both would have agreed on that. Trevor Steven was a brilliant player down the right side, and again he was a bit like a forerunner to Beckham, I suppose, in as much as he didn't have massive pace, but his delivery was just outstanding. And obviously you got big Graham Sharp there, and you got Adrian Heath and Gary Lineker playing with us for a season and stuff, so banged 40 goals I think for that season. Got sold to Barcelona, I think. But that's strange. I find that amazing. And to be fair, when I did Beans Just Stuff, there's a couple of episodes that were released, and I thought, like, when I did the Beans Just Coke, Kim came up with the idea. Beans Just Coke. Exactly. It's a funny name.
I said, dude, I was like, do you not need to reconsider the name of that? And he's like, no, to play on words. I was like, all right, okay.
And I thought people were going to listen. People will find that funny. Nobody listened to it. And it's the one I thought
maybe
would
that's
be
like
really
demographic. They're not football fans. They're beer, darts, and overweight, overage.
If you look at the online stuff, 65% of our listeners roughly are in the US.
Yeah.
So maybe soccer's not too big in the US.
It's Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey, yeah.
He's not anymore.
Well, he is, but all for all wrong reasons.
He's in that demographic, but he ain't. Sorry, Kevin, but it may be true, mate.
If you listen to us.
Yeah, if you listen from Joe, which we know he is.
It was just weird. Obviously the question was, and I know Chris McKeown did. Chris, great, thanks for getting back in touch with us and stuff.
Yeah. Chris is another really good listener. Always gets involved with us, and he is the only person who shared a team with us.
See that? I find that strange.
But he's an Everton fan.
Yeah, he's an Everton fan, and a Chicago Bears fan.
Oh dear, why is it with Chicago Bears fans in this podcast? But his team was very, very similar to yours.
Yeah.
It was mainly Man United and Arsenal. They put Henry in, Right.
And as I said on the podcast, Bergkamp, Henry, Shearer, Cantona, it was like
11's too hard, isn't it? Really, you could do 22.
You could easily do. I'll play that 11 and that 11, and but you could turn around and say, okay, so if you took the Premiership now, and I know we're not going to talk about football, but if you took the Premiership now, you took like City over the last 2 or 3 years, Liverpool this year, and you look at like perhaps throwing in a couple of Arsenal players, a couple of Chelsea players, a couple of whoever, Spurs players, Harry Kane for example, how would they get on against the teams that we put out? Because arguably you could say there's a decent team even these days. But,
now,
and that's what I said about the longevity. And I think if the players that are playing now are still playing in 3, 4, 5 years' time in the Premiership, they would arguably get in the team and stuff. But I find that
it
weird.
as well.
Really.
Again, it's one of those ones, and it's so difficult to gauge what will be. Obviously, in terms of the Beans and Stuff episode, one of our most popular is the one that the three of us did, which was the NFL one.
Right.
In terms of, since we are Tall Boy Radio, it was the staycation episode is the most popular.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong, that's the first one we did, so it's been out there longest and more people have had the opportunity to listen to it.
Yeah.
But the football's been out a couple of weeks now and nobody has.
Well,
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, like you say, the people who have engaged with it, very passionate about it.
Yeah, and it is that sort of tribal sort of. It is almost like a religion, isn't it? It is almost that tribal sort of. And people are very opinionated, and I'd like to think that I sort of backed up my opinions and thoughts and stuff, and obviously I'm more than happy to sort of, if people do want to get in touch, if you haven't listened to it, go and listen to it. By all means, shout down our teams and stuff. But just on the beer,
let's get back to the beer. That's why we're here. We're on the beer for the beer.
6.6%, and this is a beer that I first tried, and this I would class this as one of my sort of special stroke going out beers. It's not a beer that I would drink all the time, but it's a beer that certainly us three guys have drank when we've been out, we've been down to London and stuff. And it's a beer that I first tried many moons ago, and they had a bottle of it. It was at a cricket club, and it's around Manchester, sort of maybe Didsbury or Cheadle or something like that. I hadn't tried it before, and I tried it, and at the time I wasn't a massive fan of that type of beer. I was more a traditional ale, traditional lager type thing. And I tried it, I was like, well, that's like really different, and it was the smell, the slight aftertaste that you get, and I thought, wow, I really like that. And from that moment on, regularly, if you come over sort of Christmas, or you come over like sort of what I would class as special occasions, that's it. That's
have a bottle up to the
so that is in the sort of fridge. It's not an everyday beer that I would drink, but it's and it's strange because since knowing Andy and Adam, I've sort of spoken about this. In a way, it sort of reminds me of Café Rouge, and in a way, it reminds me of sort of Croque Monsieur and Croque Madames and stuff. And, you know, it's like, yeah, we'll have one of them. We'll have a left as well, and it's like, yeah, there we go, perfect. So it's not I'd say it was 6.6%, and Andy will tell you more about this because he obviously it's Belgian and he loves his Belgian beers. And I don't know whether you have got any stories or any information about left, but it's one of those that I enjoy. I like. It's not an everyday beer for me, because it's 6.6%, so you can't drink shed loads of it. But it's one that I'll always look at to get, you know what, if we were going away somewhere, I'd be like, right, I'm going to get one of them. Yeah. So it's like a treat beer for me almost.
It is a good one. It is a
and I really enjoy it. Really enjoy it.
There's always a knack to Belgian beer. It's like, say, growing up, like, I remember like not my first beers, but like when I was like 18 or whatever, it would be like Budweiser and Carly, and they're absolutely horrible now. Yeah. And now my taste buds are mature, it's like I can't drink it. Yeah. Whereas this stuff is, you know,
you won't like what I've got next. I'm joking.
Is it San Miguel?
It isn't San Miguel, no. I was close to San Miguel, but that's different. That's a different story.
So people are put off by the percentage, but I won't do that just for the fact that it's normally it's more filtered, so you'll find your hangovers are less because you're not necking it. If with this type of beer, you know it's a set. Well, I don't think call it a session, but you basically just you can drink pints of it. Just take time, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you see,
don't try and force 3 into an hour. Is that what you're saying?
I would. I've developed it quite well. No, but yeah, it's extra filtered, and I find hangovers less on this. But it is a heavier beer, so if you drink light stuff, obviously.
Sits in the belly, doesn't it?
Yeah, you'll feel it, but you can just sip it and enjoy it. Yeah, it's got to be ice cold as well.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah. And I find there are only certain types of beers that you effectively serve not quite at room temperature but slightly chilled, as opposed to some that like they have to be.
Yeah.
They have to be cold.
In Belgium, for example, this will be ice cold. The glass, they wring it out with cold water, and just that little touch of. I'll try it at home. Just rinse your glass out with cold water, pour a beer into it, and it just tastes fresher. Like, I don't know what it is.
I assume you wouldn't.
Really good.
So you go back to like. I assume you wouldn't have that in with ice to make the drink cold, because that obviously would then the flavour. Yeah. But would you frost a glass or would you ice a glass or?
You can do, but generally you just in Belgium and Europe actually you at the end of you got the I keep thinking of it as a trough, but where the taps are, they have like a little tap where you press it down, it squirts water into
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's ice cold water,
Right,
so like this glass, rinse it under the tap.
We had a holiday, didn't we, together in Belgium, and we went around
and a couple
and brews. Yeah. Not just the two of us. Yeah.
It should have been just the two of us.
It would have been National Lampoons. It was
Just the two of us.
Yeah, and it literally was every bar you went in. If you were most of the places, if you ordered a left, you get a left glass, or whichever beer you ordered, you had the glass, and they would just put this cold spray in at the end of the bar, and it was perfectly chilled. If you wanted your bongos or banana, perfect.
All three people wanted that.
Yeah, well, I know I was one of them. I don't know who the other two were.
So when were you actually in Belgium? When did you live there then? So what?
2009 and 2010.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I got offered a job there, and I was like, I like to try. I've never lived in a place for very long anyway, so I was like, I'm fine, I'll move there. And it was like my other beer is actually one of my first ones I had in Belgium. I moved to Brussels, near the Autonium, and most people don't know about Brussels. Like before I moved there, I was like, "Oh, it's the capital of Europe," but you don't know much about it.
Yeah.
So much history there. Like everything's like centuries old. Like all the beer is like brewed by monks and stuff.
Brussels one with that weird sort of like orb structure that.
Autonium.
Yeah, because
we went up there, didn't we?
Yeah. So you can go in there. It was built for a 1958 Science Museum or Science Expo. Sorry.
Right.
Some designer. It's an iron atom, so that's why it's like a cube.
Yeah.
You can get a lift in there and go up to the top.
So I remember when I was younger, me and Sid, or Paul, but my brother, affectionately known as Sid, we stayed at home and stopped with Cervantes' uncles, because my dad, who was affectionately known as Big Ray, and the football team that he played for, they toured Belgium, and it was a bit like a lad. It wasn't like a semi-professional, just like, let's go for a weekend to Belgium on the piss sort of thing. And they do surprise like 3 or 4 games of football in there. And I remember, so my mum went in, a lot of the wives and stuff like at the time, and they came back in them days you had like the old photos that we were printed out and stuff, and it was of that, what was it called, the Tomium or whatever it's called. And I was like, and Mum, I remember Mum sort of saying some stories that they'd been in there, and she mentioned it was like a science-y sort of feel, and she said it's something like a bit like it's like a planetarium type thing, one of the orbs or whatever, and I was like, alright, that sounds pretty cool. And then obviously you mentioned Belgium, Brussels and stuff, mentioned that, and it's like that sort of just sparks a memory then of like my mum and dad going there sort of thing. So that's
so
quite cool.
When we went, you got the Autonium. I used to work and live near there, so I used to walk past it every day. And it's brilliant because obviously it's the I'm not going to count, but 3x3. So it's like 3x3 is 16.
3x3 is 9.
3x3 would be like 18 or whatever.
It's in a cube. No, 27.
Yeah, good maths. Less working well.
Yeah, it's strong beer.
So yeah, you obviously you go in there. And you get a lift right to the top, and you work your way down by escalators.
It's surprisingly high.
It's massive.
Surprisingly high.
Each hall is big. Yeah. So your top one's like an observation deck thing,
right?
Where it's got the glass windows all the way around. You can see the whole of Belgium or Brussels, sorry.
That would be talking to the whole Belgium. That
well, funny enough, you've got miniature Europe, right? You can see the whole world.
Wow.
Europe, anyway.
I'd recommend it as a holiday because
it's brilliant.
It's just outside. You can get the train, the metro underground or whatever, or a bus. It's just outside of Brussels centre. But yeah, you do all that till it tells you about the history of the Autonium, what it was built for, and then you got like next door, the Mini Europe, which is all like each capital of Europe, they'll have like their, I don't know what you call it, but some like for London, every capital city. So London had Big Ben, Paris was the Eiffel Tower.
Like a landmark.
Yeah, and they'll all be like say 10 feet tall or something like that. It's brilliant because you get like little cars moving around, don't you? You just walk around. It's brilliant. And there's beer at the end of it.
Yeah.
So in Brussels or stroke Belgium, is there anywhere that you can go that I think I know the answer in terms of a beer museum or a beer brewery? You know, we would say that we're going to go on the brewery tour.
Do you know, we didn't do a brewery tour.
We didn't because they're all slightly outside of Brussels, but you could literally go in a pub and it is like a tour, innit? So we went to Delirium Cafe, which is one of my favourite ones, which is that's the small one.
I wonder whether or not you might bring a Delirium.
Well, I was tempted.
Right, because
I thought Delirium was pink. I even got the Pink Elephant beer.
Well, I wondered whether or not
which we bought in Belgium to take the Bellevue beer.
I did think that might be one of yours, but
Delirium Cafe is what I used to always go to. That's the small one. You go to the bigger one, and Brussels is famous for the pissing boy. Outside Mannequin piss, sorry.
Yeah. Well,
it's the same thing. Yeah. Outside the main Delirium bar is the female one.
The Jannikin piss.
Yeah.
Which
it's hidden away.
Which very few people ever see. And this, whenever I teach customer service to my staff, I always mention the guy who served us in that hotel because he was brilliant. And it's about going above and beyond. So we checked into the hotel. The guy was great. Told us about the rooms. It was a fantastic hotel. It was
Hotel Retro.
Hotel Retro, that was it. So it was quite a unique hotel. Anyway, so we went out for a beer and we were there and we just stood about. Me and Andy were talking. We had a few. And this guy came up to us and started talking. How are you finding Brussels? Is it great? Yeah. Who are you? No, I checked you. Yeah, I checked you into the hotel. Just out of interest, by the way, you no doubt you've already seen the Mannequin Piss, but loads of people come to Brussels, they never see the Jannikin Piss, it's just down there. It's like, dude, you are awesome. Yeah, literally, it took us to see the Jannikin Piss, which nobody ever
I lived there for nearly 2 years and never saw it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, never knew it was there.
I hated it, but I never found it.
Yeah.
It's down alleyways.
Yeah, it was. Literally, it's a good having a piss. Instead of a pissing boy. Yeah. But
this is a famous statue.
Very famous statue. He dresses up and you have the world's best set of playing cards in those different costumes. But am I right in saying though, the bar that we visited, the main Delirium bar, they add a beer every year. So if you visit this year, they have got 2,020 beers for you to try if you want.
And what is they have the main bar, which is in so like over here we have like the really advertising taps, like Budweiser will have its own tap. These are all like these brass massive taps, they're like that high. They're always like, they have the same set amount of them, but then they'll have like all the bottles and stuff, don't they? And the menu is literally every year they add one. And
it's longer than Lord of the Rings.
More interesting as well.
What you say?
You'll never get through it.
You say that. We'll agree to disagree then.
Well, you won't get through this one. But like I went there with my cousin, who's and her boyfriend's a big drink. Well, he is a big drinker, and he paid €40 basically for this glass. And it's like a fish bowl, so it was like 4 pints of. He put left in it actually. Fun enough, he chose left.
Clive, by any chance?
Clive, yeah. He had to pay €20 deposit and then €4 for his beer. I kid you not, it was massive. And there's like me, my missus Amy, him, and my cousin Helen. And we're all drinking it. We had to share it, and he went west so quick. So I don't blame him because it's actually a higher percentage. It's 7% on tap. Wow. So it's slightly higher, and he had this massive bowl of like that.
Was it Delirium when we went down to London? We went into
Delirium Red, yeah.
Delirium Red. Belgo. Sorry. Yeah.
So we went to Belgo.
Yeah.
And then we ordered, and is that where we went? So we had some food, and was that the Delirium Red? You were like, oh, you can't get pints, I'll give you like a bottle. And it's like, why? And it's like, is it 10 point something?
It's like Vimto.
It's
a cherry beer.
Vimto, yeah.
It's a cherry beer.
But yeah, it's funny because I remember that, and I remember sitting thinking, why would they not give you like a pint? And I said to Andy, I was like, why would they not give you a pint? And he's like, well, it's like 10.6 or whatever it is percent.
Lethal stuff.
So they'll like serve you halves at a time just to check that you're not sliding under the table, sort of thing, you know. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, it's like.
That's another beer that's different in bottles and is on tap.
Yeah.
Different percentages.
I don't think I've ever had it.
Your
I
friend had a bar, didn't he? And literally, you only buy them in the half barrels, and it was stupidly expensive to the point. Obviously, when you're pulling apart a car, you're going to get the drip tray. Nobody worries about it. And this, it was stupidly expensive, wasn't it? For
is that because of the waste? Because they have to cover the cost of waste? Is that
yeah.
The actual, it was like a half a size a barrel, a cask.
Right.
And it was 75 quid. Normally you're paying 30 quid for this, like a cask.
Yeah.
This was like 75 quid. So we had to sell it like, say, £5.60 a glass for 330ml, I think,
Yeah,
which is roughly a bottle.
Wow.
But he wasn't making a lot of money on that.
Right.
But honestly, he used to buy it like a couple of weeks because we used to go there every weekend and smash it. Like,
So the beers so obviously the Belgian beers, bottled beers, the Pirat, the Delirium, the Lef. Do you get all of, so if you're drinking in Belgium, do you get them on tap or are they just
all on tap?
All on tap.
And it is a higher percentage. So
Right.
Stella Artois actually is over here. It's 5.6%, I think. Which people
Stella's
call,
No, it's 4.8.
Yeah, 4.8
Yeah, it's less than
Yeah.
5.
Oh,
It
Yeah.
used to be 5.2.
It's
Dropped
less
down
than
to 5.
It's
now
less than 5 now.
4.8.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is a good
Well, actually, you
example.
can get Stella 4,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is just 4%.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's a good example of the fact that over here we don't drink beer to enjoy it like
No.
Europe does. They drink it and sit there and enjoy the afternoon. Over here we smash it. It could just be urine and people just smash it down.
Yeah.
On tap of like you can get different bottles over there. So on tap, we've had it on Grand Plaza, which is like the main square in Brussels. You get a king size Stella, which is I think it's 2 pint or a pint and a half, big stein, and that's 5.8%. I think it is on that.
It's a proper nice beer.
And it's ice cold, and it's full of flavour. It's like Guinness, you know, when you get that in the
If
UK.
you,
It's not as nice.
if you remember those Stella when it was first served at 5.2, it was a good hoppy tasty beer. Now you might as well just drink Carl.
Yeah.
There's no point in
I stopped drinking Stella. I used to drink, not a lot of it, but you'd be like, oh, I'll go on Stella, and oh, wife beats or something, but I'll go on Stella, it's stronger. But it was I always found it very fruity. It was a lovely drink, and it was a drink that you would have maybe 2 or 3 pints. If you're going to go out and have a night and go, whoa, boys, you know, you go and you Carling, go whatever you piss or whatever, you know what I mean? But whereas your stronger Stella, I mean, to be fair, I could probably drink 3 or 4 pints anyway, then that'll be it. So then, you know, 6% or whatever. But it was it was more of a fruity beer, and you recognise the smell of Stella.
Hoppy.
Yeah.
Almost interesting enough, if you drop a bottle of Stella, and I'm obviously working in retail, I've had a few brews, it almost smells of
Spillage on aisle 3.
Yeah. Clean up aisle 3. But it almost smells of weed because hops are the same genus of plants
Well,
as
buds out.
weed. Yeah,
Okay.
same genus of plants, which is interesting. And on that fact, we are going to bring this episode to a close because we're around about the hour mark. We're going to keep this one at the hour mark. We do another hour episode of Tasting Beers, which we're going to record right now, but you guys are going to see it next week. So, do you want to say your goodbyes, Gaz?
Thanks, guys. Been great again. Love to try the 3 beers. I just finished my left, and here's to next week.
Indeed. Andy?
Yeah, we've talked about our beers. Let us know what you want to talk about. Tell us your favourite beers. We'll try and drink them next time and try and send me sideways.
Yeah, good choice. Tell us the beers you want to see us drink, and guess what, we'll do it. We ain't got a problem with that.
Yeah, no, you're in like Budweiser or Carling.
Yeah, no, I'm in proper beer, like what we're drinking tonight. So, until next time, what's my words? I forgot I've had that much beer.
I think it was
Life gives you lemons.
Yeah, I'll do, yeah. Just take care, guys. I'll leave that one in.
Potter.